My name is Sonya Shelton. I'm the CEO of Executive Leadership Consulting. We help organizations and leaders connect their leadership teams to be more aligned, to focus their execution, and ultimately create strategic momentum in their business.
Awesome. And you've got a story to share with us. Where does it begin?
It actually begins when I was a child. So I grew up in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I am not of French descent. I don't have any, my parents aren't French. I didn't know anybody who was French. And I had these phrases that I would say. And I thought it was language that I made up because I was a kid, right? So nobody else said these phrases, only me. So I thought I made them up. And I was in a store. I was probably like 6 years old. And I was in a store with my parents and I used one of the phrases and someone overheard me and started speaking to me in French. And I was I was looking like I don't understand. And my mom told the person she doesn't speak French, and she said she just spoke French. So that was my first sort of realization that I had been here before. There was no other way that I would have known those phrases, other than maybe having a past life, right? So sort of, and I think as a child, sort of, it wasn't surprising to me. I just knew it. And I've always gone back to that moment to remind me, and even when I've spent time in Paris, that it feels like home. And I have no problems being there, walking around the streets by myself. And so just kind of had other moments like that throughout my life of, we've been here before. This is not my first experience on this planet.
Wow. So have you had any other like explorative experience finding out who that person was that you were on this planet as a French person? Like you said that you've been to Paris and walked the streets. Like, have you been able to, was it you? Was it your name in a different reality? Was it a different person from the past? Have you gotten their name or their address or their other French phrases that they were into, or anything about? Have you learned about this person in any significant way?
No, not that person. I think that I don't know like who that was. I know it was definitely from the past. I do. I have had other experiences though, where like I saw myself there at that time as a different person. So I practice Zen Buddhism, and we did a Buddhist conference in South Korea where we went and visited different temples, and there was one temple that we went to that was all nuns, so all women. And I saw myself there. Like I felt myself there. I saw myself there. I saw who I was. And then one of the monks that was a part of the tour with us also saw me as that person. And he was like a little bit taken aback. Like as it was happening to me, he was also seeing it. And so I saw that I was a nun in that temple and served there and studied there. And yeah, so I have had experiences like that where I'm in a place and then I see that experience that I had before in another life.
So you don't just have this French person experience, you have other lifetimes that you have experienced in other parts of the world.
Yes.
How many other ones have you experienced? Get out of it.
Two other ones. One was in China where I was like a high level military person. So I was a warrior and a high level military person. I could see my uniform in black and red. And when I spent time in China, I sort of saw that experience there. And then another experience was actually not place related, but I worked for a company where there was a woman there that was psychic, and I didn't know that. We're colleagues, but I didn't know that she was psychic. And I came into her office to ask me a question, and she jumped about 5 feet back when I walked in. And she said, I saw, like, I just, like, one of your past lives just walked in with you, and it was a little bit jarring. And I said, well, what did you see? And she said, it was your, so she told me I was a Native American chief in Utah, and it was in the 1600s. And she was like describing what he looked like to me while I was standing there. And she's like, he's like standing right behind you. Right. And so So yeah, so she's at work just going about her business. And I didn't even know that she had this gift and it just sort of appeared.
That's incredible. So does Zen Buddhism uh, believe in like reincarnation and past lives? Is that
Absolutely.
yeah?
Mhm.
So that's fundamental to the belief system. Is that like did you go and search for meaning in all of these experiences, and that's what led you to Zen Buddhism, or was it just kind of coincidental? You were already experiencing and enjoying Zen Buddhism, this past lives element to it. How did that come about?
I don't know that it was related. I grew up um, in a very spiritual family, and my parents would always, they're very open to exploring like other faiths and other belief systems. And so, when I was growing up, if a new church or temple or anything opened up in town, we would go check it out. Right. And so I kind of grew up with a strong spiritual foundation, but also with this openness that there wasn't one way, right? And so I kind of went on after I graduated from high school, sort of went on my own spiritual exploration and decided that I didn't agree with anything, right? I did that for so I was like, I'm just going to be a spiritual person and sort of do this on my own. And I did that for about 10 years and then decided that I needed a teacher. And so I went on an exploration again and came across, I was a writer at the time. That was my job. And I came across this book by a woman named Natalie Goldberg. Well, she called Long Quiet Highway, and she talked about her Zen practice and her writing profession sort of integrating. And I just loved the book, and so looked up Zen in my area, and I've been there ever since. So,
Wow. What is the meaning of all of these experiences, these past lives? Why, what kind of conclusions have you been able to draw for this from your own life, and how has it impacted you in your practice as a Buddhist?
yeah, I think, well, so in Buddhism, we believe that it's about karma, right? So from these past lives, we do good things that help people, and we also do things that hurt people. There's no such thing as good or bad, right? It's just what is, because a good situation can be a bad situation and a bad situation can be a good situation, and we actually don't know. But we have this cycle of cause and effect. So we do something and there's an effect that goes all the way back to our past lives. So how can we sort of get out of that cycle and just be present in this moment? And sort of enlightenment is really about stepping out of your karma in a way so that it doesn't have the same impact and also can help people and serve people with it.
I love that. I have this question for you. I asked it in the past on this podcast, and I feel drawn to ask this of you. If you could go back in time in your own life and think of a time that you were particularly like vulnerable, or like something hard was happening either in your business or just in your personal life, and if you could go back and you could give that version of yourself some advice, how old are you, and you kind of generally what's going on at that time, and what's the advice that you would give to your younger self at that time?
So I think I was probably like maybe 12 or 13. And I started really caring about what other people thought. And I think have I completely solved it? No. Right. But I'm continue to get better at it. And then I recognize when I fall back, right? And then can step forward a little bit more the next time. But it's really about trusting my own intuition and trusting my own guidance, right? Where there's a lot of situations that have happened in my life where I knew something was true for me, but I listened to someone else and then it ended up not working out for me because I listened and it was like, I knew it. Right? It's like, why did I let them convince me? Right. So it's happened I would say throughout my life at various intensities. But I would go back and I would tell her, like, always trust your intuition. If you know something is true, if it feels right for you, stay with that no matter what anyone else says.
I love that. Where was your intuition like reside is it just a mind thing? You just feel the thought, or you just hear the thought, or is it a voice? Is it a feeling, like in your chest or in your throat that some people feel? Where does your intuition reside?
So I'm what they call clairsentient, which means that I just have a sense, like a knowing, most of the time. So I sometimes will come in through my body, like I'll get little tingles or something like that when I feel certain energies. But for the most of the time, I just know, which is kind of why other people could talk me out of it, because there wasn't that really tangible sign that some people get where it's like, I know that this is true because this happens, or I feel this, or I see that. I don't have that. I just know. I have to trust that knowing.
That's fascinating. Sonya, where can everyone find you?
So if you're interested in checking out my business, you can find me at executiveleader.com. There are lots of resources there. There are webinars, there are assessments to take about leadership, lots of free articles,
this episode valuable,
and all of the links to my social
Spotify
media
and
are on
share
there
it with
too.
a
If you want to connect with me, please do.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show.